But where we're going next, it gets deeper and a little uncomfortable in the best way, of course, because in part two, we start talking about shame, sex, and the conditioning that quietly shapes how you show up in relationships and the stuff that most people don't say out loud. Eek, even some of the things that I shared. I can't believe I said out loud. Eek. Anyways, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So if this conversation stirred something in you or made you question even one past relationship or a pattern that you're seeing in your current relationship, don't stop here. Come check out part two. Did I just say come? Okay, my dirty mind, I'm like, was that the right context, the right wording? Because it sounds like a pun. Oh my God, guys. Totally cuckoo. Anyways,
This podcast is raw, unscripted, and sometimes uncomfortable. But that's the point. We're here for open conversations and guided moments that help you realign with yourself through mind, body, and spirit, backed by science, so you can reconnect with what matters and build stronger relationships without perfection or pressure. Align, connect, empower.
in the book, you describe shame as, well, I'm not sure if you use this word exactly, but the elephant in the bedroom. And so, how does shame actually show up in relationships, even when people don't realize it's there? Or maybe they do realize it's there, but I think a lot of people don't even recognize what shame is.
I think you're right. I think they don't recognize it. And I think what happens is what you said, what we were exploring earlier about women who are afraid to orgasm and afraid because they don't want to really let go. And what I found is that shame is often a part of the landscape that has them holding back, right? Not wanting to experience that because maybe they had in the past and they were shamed, right? And so what I know shame to be is a weapon. And it's a weapon like fear is used as a weapon, right? By our current society, by the patriarchy, let's just say, for instance. So fear is used to pit women against each other. You know, the age-old, like we have to compete for the male attention, right? So you've got women, cattiness and tearing each other down and gossip and all kinds of things that unfortunately have really toxified a lot of, we're kind of, we're rising above that as the feminine rises, right? And as more priestesses and so forth, as more of us really recognize that, no, we're not going to fall for that. But even as societies right now, how the fear-mongering of some political leaders of, scapegoating a particular type of person, a particular religion, a particular immigration status, right? I mean, right now in this country, we've got, if you're undocumented, then, that's the scapegoat. So it's like, and then creating fear. And so that's how, as a society, we are controlled by, being afraid of what's going to happen, being afraid of the other, being afraid that they're going to harm me. So we've got to, contain them, right? And all of that. So that keeps us fighting with each other and women fighting with each other, if you will. Then instead of turning our collective energy towards the ruling elites in this, who are all trying to keep the status quo, where, more and more wealth gets accumulated at the top, and more people have nothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so, okay, so that's...
Oh, wait, I have to mention, too, that Elana is an activist. So she will speak passionately about this.
I am weaving this into, yes, exactly.
Yes.
Because I believe that we, can create a world that's much more pleasurable and abundant for all humans and all life.
Mm-hmm.
And there are we got a long way to go.
Yes, but we're really
It's
gone
totally
through.
possible. It's totally possible. So how fear is used to control the masses, shame is used to control individuals. And so what we do is so something happens. Sometimes it's when we're a young child, and maybe I'm exploring my genitals in the bathtub, and
Mm-hmm.
someone who's not an adult sees you and is not super sex positive or is not comfortable with that, or
Mm-hmm.
is limited in their ability to experience pleasure themselves, right? Has some
Mm-hmm.
kind of limited consciousness around sexuality, and then says something like, "Oh, never do that. Oh, you should. Why are you doing that? That's shameful," or somehow shames you. So
Yeah.
so then we have this adult's voice or this authority voice that's telling us that we're bad, that this is a bad thing to do, that we shouldn't be pleasuring ourselves, we shouldn't be enjoying our bodies as we were just innocently exploring, right?
Right.
So it could be society, that the standards of what beauty is supposed to be, especially as women age, but even, younger people, about what our bodies are supposed to look like, right? And what our shapes are supposed to look like, and how thin we're supposed to be, or how large our breasts are supposed to be, or, whenever we're told we have two big breasts, we have two small breasts, we have, everything.
One big, one small.
Right, exactly. Satisfy everybody.
Yeah.
So we're shamed about like what we're what we look like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're comparing it to some airbrushed image of a feminine body, which is not even a real body, right? Of what we're supposed to look like. And so then we feel less than, and we feel like, well, and so what shame does is it has us turn against ourselves. It isolates us. It makes us feel bad about ourselves. It obviously, we judge ourselves, and we just want to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Brene Brown says
Me too.
something like, I know she's wonderful. And she says something like, shame can only exist in secrecy.
Yes.
So as soon as you shine a light on shame and you start to notice like, oh, I'm feeling ashamed. Well, whose voice is that? You start to shine a light and start to explore and be curious about, whose voice is that? Was that my mom's voice? Was that a societal voice? Was that something, who is that? Name the shame. There's a name the shame game that
Name the shame.
Play.
Yeah, it's going from maybe saying like I do this and or I can't, and then it works its way up to I am this, which is more shaming. And I think body issues, I think, is a high one for women. And what I've learned in my relationship is it didn't really matter what my body looked like. It was how I showed up with confidence. And I think, I can't speak for all men out there, but I just know with my man is that for him is important, his confidence. And I get to reap the benefits of intimacy with him if I just took down those insecurities, And I think a lot of women can also experience that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And really that's, the sure thing is about a pleasure practice. This book is really is a roadmap to create an ongoingly reliable pleasure practice that will fulfill you. And beyond that, or like the foundation of the book, is about falling more deeply in unconditional love with ourselves.
Yes.
And so when we feel afraid of losing control, like having an orgasm or exploring pleasure, or we're aware of shame, or we're aware of something, we may not even call it shame yet. It may be amorphous still, like the elephant, right? There's something in this bedroom. I'm not quite sure what it is. well, consider it maybe. Is there something I'm feeling ashamed about? I'm feeling uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And the part of ourselves in the book, I talk about our inner pantheon. So the different parts of ourselves, like we have, like the Greek and Roman gods had a pantheon. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I like to play with that. Each of us has an inner pantheon of all the different parts of ourselves, all the different parts of our personalities, and so forth. And so inside each one of us is a wounded child. It's just how human nature happens, is a wounded child that has a core belief. My core belief is I don't matter. It
Mm-hmm.
could be I'm wrong, I'm unlovable, no one ever wants me. All of them are very negative, and all of them are universally false.
Mm-hmm.
They're a lie, right?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out it's this part of ourselves, our wounded kid, who feels ashamed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who will feel the shame, who will feel ashamed. Definitely part of our when we're feeling difficult feelings, check in with your little kid. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be needing to tend to that part of ourselves that still believes that she doesn't matter, that she's
Yeah.
unlovable, or whatever is your particular version of it. There is a guided journey in the book to
Yeah.
help you more deeply connect with this part of ourselves. And once we begin to recognize, okay, that's my little kid, I got to love her up, make sure I got her back, because it doesn't matter what anybody else does. If I'm not taking care of her and making sure that she feels loved, then it doesn't matter. She will act out and feel like she doesn't matter, and all kinds of repercussions will happen. So
Yeah.
that's part of our role as we mature and evolve, is to really heal and love into wholeness all the parts of ourselves, and particularly our wounded kids. And as we do that, it's like, and as you become more facile with these different parts, when they show up, and when they show up in an intimate setting, like in the bedroom, and I'm feeling a little, something's feeling a little off, and I'll say to my partner, honey, I need to check in with little Elana, and I need to see what's going on with her, because I just need to slow down.
Yes.
And we are able to fully open and experience as much pleasure as we want to when we bring all of these parts along with us, right? Especially the ones who are most resistant, like our little kids inside. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to be slow, and we need to be inclusive. And as we do that, we're going to reveal the parts that feel ashamed. And then you're going to be able to be like, look at that, kind of take that out of somewhere that it's residing in your body and put it out in front of us, like on an altar table, that we can look at it and go, well, whose voice was that? Where did that come from? What is that trying to do? That's trying, when I feel ashamed, I want to hide. When I feel ashamed, I don't want to, use my voice. I don't want to speak to what I see is happening in the world, in my personal relationship, with anything, right?
And I could see that also. I could see that also showing up of, let's say you're feeling really ashamed or insecure in the bedroom, and you don't want to use your voice to say, oh, I don't like it like that, or can you change position, or so then you're not able to find full satisfaction because you feel potentially like you can't speak your truth or say what it is that you mean or want in that moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, so I'm curious. So now we talked about women. Well, you're in your book, you're saying about 50% of people feel dissatisfied in their sex life.
Yeah.
And which when I did my research, that's pretty darn accurate. And now I found a small percentage of people, like we said, that didn't feel safe to orgasm and lose control. Now, what about the demographic of people who uses sex as a tool to numb, avoid, or distract, like a borderline addiction, like sex addiction, but maybe it's not full blown, but they use that more to ease their frustration.
Yeah. Right. Well, there's certainly those people.
Yeah.
And it's really bringing awareness, like with any addiction, right?
Yeah.
It's about bringing awareness to what are we trying to avoid? What do we not want to feel? And often I know it's emptiness.
Mm.
Ironically, because emptiness is, if we're willing to be in the unknown and in emptiness, which is very disorienting, of course.
Yeah.
Because it's vast at first. It's very disorienting.
Yeah.
And can be always disorienting, but are we willing, again, to be uncomfortable, to just be with whatever's happening, even if it's boredom, if it's fear, if it's shame, if it's whatever may be happening in our bodies? Are we willing to just observe, just breathe with it, just be with it?
Yeah.
Or do we want to reach for, the joint or the food or the drink or sex,
Yeah.
right, to distract us?
Yeah.
So I think it's really bringing conscious awareness into anything, and that's true with sex, because certainly it can be used and abused as I mean, by men and women. I mean, to seduction, when it's used to try and manipulate someone, right?
Yeah.
By using your sexuality. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, that's so that happens, and knowing that we all have the capacity to use our bodies to manipulate somebody else, right? So recognizing that, trying not to judge ourselves or other people who you may see doing this, or you may witness that, right? And just really coming into, well, what's really underneath that? What's the underlying motivation?
Yeah.
What's the underlying motivation to, use sex to distract me from, my feelings of unworthiness?
Right.
Right. Instead of like, well, maybe, yes, you can have sex too. It's not to say you don't have it. And maybe you want to spend a little time with your little kid.
Yeah.
Getting to know them a little bit. And
a different type of physical connection, like I can't remember who said this to me. I think it was an aunt, but it was something like a human being needs like 10 physical touches a day or something like whether a touch on the shoulder or a hug. And in that, if we don't get those 10 touches a day, then we slowly get more and more depleted, and maybe the excessiveness of the physical touch, whether that is intimate or not, is just us trying to refill that tank, that emptiness, like you said. And I know at one point in my life that I definitely used sex as a tool to try to numb some of my discomforts and insecurities. So that's why I was curious, because I think a lot of us, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I think a majority of us are in this gray zone of where we're not necessarily an addict, but we're not 100% okay, and we have these symptoms of like, okay, something is up, but what is the problem, or why is it that I'm doing these things? So I really appreciated your book, because it's about someone who wants to receive more intimacy with their partner, not always necessarily sexually, but maybe if you're someone who are always going after the physical intimacy, it's also a way to really sit with what's your experience after intimacy? What was it that you're actually chasing after? And what was the result? Because I think in those times where I was chasing for it, it would still leave me feeling empty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So that's, so really, thank you, for your vulnerability and sharing.
Mm.
For me, I used food when I was in my 20s, late teens and 20s, as a like kind of addiction sort of, which is similar to sex, because it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like we need them both, right? I mean, so
Oh, I know.
to be able to eat, you need to be able to like feel pleasure in your body.
Yeah.
And so then coming into a relationship that's, honoring and respectful and really serving us,
Mhm.
instead of using sex or food or anything
Yeah,
to numb out, right?
exactly.
To, kind of blot ourselves out instead of like coming more alive and embodied in this present.
And we're centered. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that we didn't talk about today that most people are not talking about and should be said?
A couple things.
A
I
couple
would
of
say that intimacy, and we've alluded to it, and I just feel like I want to say it very clearly that because it was so shocking to me, and nobody ever told me that you need to practice intimacy.
Mm,
And in retrospect, it's so obvious. If I want to get
yeah.
better at anything, right? I'm taking singing lessons because I want to be able to reliably sing on key. Well, I wouldn't be able to do that unless I hired a teacher and I'm practicing doing that. It's
Mhm.
the same thing. If we want to get better at something, we practice it. So if you
Yeah.
get better at intimacy with yourself, with your partner, practice. Have a practice. It could be the sure thing. It doesn't have to be the sure thing, but know that it's not just going to magically happen. What is reliable is that you will grow apart if there's not some regular something that you're doing that cultivates intimacy between you and your partner.
Hmm.
And the other thing is that when we practice pleasure, we open different channels in the body, in the brain, in the nervous system that helps to regulate us, that really is nutritious for our minds, for our hearts, for our bodies, and for this time that we are living in. Because we are living in really a time, that some call times of destruction, right?
Mm.
And the great turning. There's a lot of different metaphors that are used for this time that we are living through, and we are witnessing a lot of horror, a lot of suffering, and a lot that we all are called forward to have courage, to be kind, and to
Yeah.
take action from that place of heart-centeredness. And I really believe, and I see, and I know in my own life that by having this regular practice that feeds me and nourishes me and regulates my body and my relationship, that then I am ready. I'm ready to really be clear about what I see that is true and that is not true, because we got all kinds of wild stories coming from everybody, right? So
Yeah.
we need to have our own way of discerning what is true and what is real. And if we're not really residing in our bodies, then we're not using our hearts and our bodies, which are such a highly tuned instrument of discernment.
Mm.
And so I really believe that not only will it benefit you and will you enjoy having a regular pleasure practice,
Yes.
it will also benefit, the world.
Yeah. That's beautiful. It makes me think of this quote by Mother Teresa, and I'm not going to try to exactly quote it, but it was something about instead of being anti something, be pro something. So your message makes me think of, yes, we have a lot of heartache and destruction and things going on right now, but let's be pro love, and that's exactly what the sure thing is finding ways to find pleasure and love in your relationships. And it's so beautiful.
That's right.
Thank you.
And as we do that, we awaken our own hearts And eventually, the more and more hearts that awaken, we will awaken the heart of humanity. We will do it. And when we awaken the heart of humanity, we will recognize that every human, every life form, but let's just start with humans, that we look at, we are connected with. So if I share love with this person and have an intimate connection in a platonic way, then I'm sharing that with myself. And if I harm this person, then I'm harming myself, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really all about, let's awaken the heart of humanity. And this is one of many ways that we can do that.
Yes. So everyone, go out there, get your sure thing, go get your sexy lingerie on and get your orgasms so we can all be kinder, nicer people in this world.
Yes, exactly.
One last thing is where can people find you? Is there something that you'd like to offer the audience? What else would you like? Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. I mentioned our inner pantheon. I attest that we all have a wounded child.
Mm-hmm.
We also all have a wild, sensual self.
Ooh.
And that's that part of us that knows exactly what they want, that has a huge appetite for pleasure and desirable things and whatever you find to be embodied delight. Could be anything. My wild sensual self learned how to ski after she really awakened through the sure thing. I now train in Aikido, all kinds of embodied things that I was never an athlete ever in my life until I started doing the sure thing, and I really connected with this part of myself that I call Vivacious Viv, my wild sensual self.
Yes, you talked about her in your book.
Yeah. So we each have a Viv inside of us who, whatever, you're going to have a different name for your wild sensual self. So I mentioned that there are guided journeys in the book, and I've recorded this one, and I'd love to gift it to your listeners that it's connecting with your wild sensual self. So even if you haven't connected with this part in a while, no worries. And if you've connected with her just yesterday, it'll still be a really fun romp. So I'll send you that link, and folks can find me at surethingexperiment.com. And you can get the book there. You can also get the book wherever you like to get books. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect. And I'll have all of that down in the show notes. So it's easy for you guys to click on it and find the link. And please reach out. You're so sweet. Like I said at the beginning of the interview, I was saying, I feel like I already know you because I read your book, and there was like loud, audible laugh moments where everyone, when I was like on the beach reading my book in Punta Cana, and they're like looking at me, I'm like, it's funny and it's about sex, okay? like I was really enjoying it. People were walking by, and it was like two intimate people on the cover, sure thing, and I'm like, give them a wink, I love it. And it's liberating to talk about sex. And even though it can be such a taboo topic, but it's one of my favorite things to talk about. So thank you for coming onto the show. Now just saying that out loud sound like a pun, but it wasn't. But thank you for being on the show. And your mind is going to wander now. So,
well, it's been so fun. It's been so wonderful to speak with you. Thank you so much, Janelle.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the follow button. If you want to hear more like this, real conversation, real life, mindset, perspective shifts, so you can rise up to being your best version of yourself, your version of greatness, then make sure you hit the follow button and feel your way into this podcast to see if it's a right fit for you. It usually takes a few episodes before you can totally know if it resonates with you. And if you want to send out a message to me, you can find me on Instagram at Wellness to Greatness. Thanks, guys. Love it that you're here, and thank yourself for taking the time to learn something new about yourself today. All right. Catch you next week.